everyone to please take out your pager. Your Walkman? How about your calendar? How about your smartphone? That smartphone has replaced hundreds of devices that we no longer carry around with us today. Will you be ready for a future where other smart appliances and devices replace tasks that our business models are built around? I know we are all very familiar with our annual business operating plans that focus on trade, revenue, volume, but what they lack is a digital focus. And our recommendation to you is to build a 2016 digital operating plan. And to explain the importance of this plan, I would like to introduce my team. Nick Schott from Cytosport, Brian Zarowski from Ben Supercenters, Stacy Traficante from Costco Wholesale, Aaron Jones from Lazy Acres Market, and myself, Brooke Falvey from Mondelez International. We lie at a crossroads with the digitally immersed consumer. Today we're going to cover how we've fallen behind technology as the food industry, and we need to catch up. We're going to talk about the key drivers of this change. We're also going to talk about the opportunity that lies ahead for us as the food industry to communicate with the consumer in a digital way. And lastly, we're going to leave you with 3 recommendations. 3 recommendations that you can leave here today, and you can start implementing with your team. First is communication to your consumer. Second is think of a different way that you partner with different companies. And lastly, transforming your current digital marketing team. So how relevant is all this technology anyways? I mean, we seem pretty automated already. We walk around, we rely on our smartphones for virtually everything. Well, we're not even close. The CEO of Samsung said it himself, that in 5 years, 100% of Samsung electronics will be connected to the internet. And Samsung's not alone. LG has already developed and implemented appliances for in your home. And I would like to now show you what this future could look like.
Hey guys, you won't believe some of the new innovations in kitchen appliances. In fact, I had to go out to CES just to see them for myself. Okay, so we have smartphones and smart TVs, smart cars. Why not smart appliances?
Our smart appliances now incorporate natural language processing technology, allowing users to instant message their appliances.
Sounds futuristic, I know, but the applications are really useful. Smart refrigerators will change the way you take inventory. These refrigerators sync up with your smartphone so you can keep an active tab on what's in stock and when it expires.
Users can send a quick text to see what they need or don't need while they're in the grocery store.
You can also monitor your food on the refrigerator's large touchscreen. Smart ranges will make mealtime a lot easier.
It can tell what ingredients are needed for a particular recipe.
And when you've picked the recipe, the oven can be remotely preheated to the correct temperature. You can also check the oven status on your smartphone and make sure you turned it off when you've left the house. Okay, so maybe some of these features are ahead of their time, but you can already imagine our lives being more efficient and safer starting in the kitchen. This has been Sean. Have a great day.
The automated home will become mainstream. It's a matter of time and the right catalyst. So this is our opportunity. Who will be the next Steve Jobs in this room? Who will connect the dots with technology? The smartphone was developed years before Steve Jobs came in. He just took a clever mind, a great idea, and now the iPhone is virtually impossible to leave the home without. So how is this relevant to CPGs and retailers like ourselves? How can we connect with the consumer step by step, starting from in the home? Let's start with the planning process. We want to talk to the consumer in-home before they leave for the supermarket. While they're building their recipes for the week, we want to talk to them effectively through their tablets and iPhones. And what about while they're cooking? There will be flat screen countertops giving instructions on how to build the recipes. And when the refrigerator tells you that you've run out of a certain item, with the click of a button, you want to be able to reorder. So whose brand will be on that screen? And lastly, in-store. We want to make sure that we are communicating with our consumers in-store while they're shopping, either giving them directions on different recipes to go with their items that are already in their refrigerator and cupboards, or what promotions are across the store. So will you be ready? Will you be ready as CPGs and retailers for consumers who live fully automated lifestyles? Will you be ready for homes that auto-replenish your items when they're out? And consumers are changing. Will you be ready for this digitally immersed consumer? I would like to now introduce Stacy, who will go over the key drivers of these changes in technology.
So what's driving these changes? Social media is the biggest driver, followed by connectivity and data. People are spending more time on the internet than ever before. Emailing used to be the top internet activity, but now it's social media. Facebook has over 1 billion active users, and Twitter is not far behind. People are using sites like these to share their comments about products, to like items, and to share pictures. 90% of our data today was not even available 2 years ago. Our world is shrinking. You're able to have a face-to-face conversation with somebody who lives in another country. You can order products using your smart device and have it delivered to your doorstep the next day. We are having a better understanding of who our consumer is. So, who is that consumer? Well, it's the baby boomers. They are accepting this change. My parents have to use their grandkids to show them how to operate the smartphone, how to download a game so that they can play with, how to take a selfie, which they just learned what that word meant. But they're okay with this. They're still learning. We're teaching them what Twitter means, and Instagram, and Pinterest. And if you don't know what those are apps. Generation Z, X, we're open to these changes. We're ready for this new challenge. We're using the younger generations to show us how to stay advanced with technology. The millennials, they are pioneers of this technology. They are our future. We need to keep an eye on them. Generation Z, they're immersed with this technology. They're growing up with it from the moment that they're born. Consumer automation, it's all about personalization. It's all about getting to know who your consumer is so that you're able to suggest items for them to make their shopping a lot easier. We have such busy lifestyles, and being able to order our food with our smart device, do our grocery shopping and have it delivered to our home, so that way we're able to stay out on the soccer field with our kids and enjoy our family time. Health concerns are on the rise. Being able to use your smart device to know what's in the food that you're eating, to keep track of the calories, that will help you to live a happier and longer lifestyle. And now Aaron, he's going to talk to you about the opportunities that lie ahead and how it's related to the food industry.
So you think about how far technology has really come in the last 10 years. It's now faster, more dependable than ever. And you take a look at how many households exist in the US. It's 123 million households. Now there's 40,000 retail grocery establishments, from the size of a Costco wholesale to a Ben's Supercenter, which I'm told is in the thumb of Michigan. That's correct. So as technology drives consumer demand, retailer loyalty and brand loyalty will grow like never before. So how many of these households will fly your banner or buy your brand? Now you might think the smart home usage is not as prevalent as we do, but you can see that millennial usage is already over 25%. In 10 years, interest peaks, and over 1/6 of the US population will have a smart appliance in home. Now, our industry, we see trends changing. You heard that more food is consumed outside of the home than inside of the home. Well, there's other factors involved. Online shopping is also eating away at our industry. It is a $10 billion industry with higher margins. That industry is growing at 9.6% year over year. In 10 years, that'll reach $28 billion. That's about half the size of Kroger or Albertsons, a definite competitor. Now, technology has leapfrogged our business models. We have simply fallen behind. You might take into consideration past ventures like Webvan or HomeGrocers.com, and you might think maybe the business model didn't work. Centralized distribution, that wasn't a great idea. Or they didn't get the customer impact, the customer interest. They didn't want to give up fresh food shopping. But take a look at the technologies that existed at the time. You didn't even have Google. You all remember how fast internet was back then. Everybody remembers that AOL sound when you used to log on? So take that into consideration, and you can kind of see why these companies did not take off. But technology today is far faster and far more dependable. We have the opportunity to enter this business model, to work with these online companies that have the customer base and have the technical knowledge. But what we possess is we have the customer loyalty, we have the brands that they want to purchase, we know what they want to shop, and we have the experience that they can learn from. By joining in partnerships with these companies, we can enter this business model for the new age for a brighter future. With that, I'd like to hand it off to Brian with our team's recommendations.
Now let's get ready. And how can we do this? By changing the way that we digitally communicate with our customers, by forming new partnerships between retailers and CPGs, and by restructuring or developing a digital marketing team. I'd like to begin by focusing on the communication portion. How do we communicate with a digitally immersed customer? Our answer is threefold. First, by the usage of apps. Of the 29 companies represented in the FIM program, only 8 of them have mobile applications. What then with the rest? The rest are missing out on crucial communication between them and their customers, as well as awareness. Developing an app is a great first step that you can begin with today. Also, the change in traditional marketing. Traditional marketing is no longer enough. It no longer meets the needs of the digitally immersed customer. We must respond by being present and active on the online platforms and communication channels that those customers are now active within. We must change the way that we market and incentivize our customers. It's as simple as a shift from coupons to incentivizing by means of likes and shares. Thirdly, transparency. With the dawn of the internet, our customers are more knowledgeable. They have easier access to information than ever before. How do we respond? We respond by being the first to make this information available to them, by being the first mover. Communication through memberships and subscriptions. In a world of smart home users, memberships and subscriptions will be the primary means of capturing that customer loyalty. Think of the membership program that you've participated in. Think how you pay the annual fees or the monthly fees, and then we're given access to sweet sales promotions and discounts throughout the year. The same system applies. The same membership program is in play, except on one end, you have the retailers, on the other end, the devices of the smart home users. When these membership programs are in play, you have captured the customer loyalty data and will be able to tailor specific push marketing ads to those customers based on that information. But furthermore, you have captured their eating habits and cooking trends and will be able to market to them based on those as well. Lastly, how do we communicate to the consumer within the home? By means of smart appliances, whether it is the smart refrigerator, the smart trash can, or the smart washer and dryer. These devices will have the ability to take inventory, to send orders, and once the orders are sent to your retailer of choice, they will be picked, processed, and as a direct result of those memberships we spoke of earlier, they will be delivered to your home. And lastly, mobile notifications. Mobile notifications will complete the communication loop between retailers, the smart devices, and consumers. These mobile notifications will notify us when an order has been processed, when it has gone through, but also when it has been delivered to the home. Now, to further our recommendations, I'd like to introduce Nick.
So when you think about partnerships, alliances inside this room, we think about CPG companies partnering with retailers, maybe even CPG companies partnering together. We don't think about partnering with alliances such as this: Samsung, LG, Whirlpool. We're asking you to think differently. Differently because the future is different. So when you might say, what did Samsung do differently when the CEO said that in the next 5 years they won't make an appliance that isn't connected to the internet? They went and partnered with Intel before he said that. Why did he do that? So he could get commodity pricing and commodity quantity on microprocessors and chips. That's key. That's paramount because he's giving you a clue to preparation. Preparing for what? The digital revolution that is upon us. What would you get when you went to that? Talk about push marketing. In-home marketing at its best, you'd go factory direct to the consumer right there in their kitchen, right at the point of impact when you want to touch them and we want to touch them most. Food inventory management. It's scary, I know, but think about it. You would know exactly what's in the home of every single one of your customers at any point in time, and then at the same standpoint, know what the date is. What is the PQI date, the out-of-code date? What is the expiration date of all those products? Applications. Stacy mentioned it. Applications on the phone. Applications on your Android, your tablet. How about applications in the home, on your refrigerator, on your stove? This is your chance to talk to that consumer right there in the home. And the euphoric instance, automatic replenishment. That's money in the bank. When you're the key retailer, key CPG supplier, this is where you get in-home automation and factory direct delivery to these customers. So you might say, this is a digital transformation. Who would manage this? Well, the key is that you go after the millennials today. And arguably in 5 to 7 years, these are going to be the Gen Zers. They're not going to be the individuals that are behind the times. They're going to be the ones on the forefront, the cutting edge of technology. We're all stewards of the food industry in here, students, if you will. They have to be students of the technology industry. They have to know what's on the cusp and what it's going to look like. So what would this team look like? First, these are our 5 individuals. The marketing strategist. This is truly the visionary of the team. This is the person who sees the goals of the company and the goals how to execute it digitally. They're going to put the two together and mirror it. The social media manager. We all know that perception is reality online, and if we miss that, we're in a world of hurt. This person protects us from that. The content creator. We all know the difference between a functional application and website and how good it can be, how great it can be. This is the person that's going to create that so it's functional for your company to the end user. If we have that, we're one step closer. And then you think about the data analyst. As Stacy mentioned, 90% of the data that we have today wasn't available 2 years ago. There is more data on consumers in this room than ever before. The key is that we find an individual to manage this and integrate this into a digital platform. By doing this, you can market directly to them. You can tell them what they want, what they need at the point of impact. And the technical specialist, this is the person who puts it all together. This is the final linchpin in the group. They have to have integration technology in their brain. They have to know exactly how to work through operating systems. At the same standpoint, they need to know the vision of the organization and put all these roles together. This is a critical team. Now, we've covered a lot of ground today. We talked about the digitally immersed consumer, how they're going to change our way of thinking, how they're going to affect us as a food industry. They're not going to change. They're reliant upon technology. We're never going backwards. Aaron touched on the opportunity. Our business models have been leapfrogged by others, and at the same standpoint, this opens a window of opportunity for us to dive in and get this consumer base back and solidify us from the rest. We talked about our recommendations, how to better communicate with the consumer, different strategic alliances, and then obviously a task force to manage this for us. We found a lot out through this process. Technology change is not going to stop. It's not going to stall. It's certainly not going to slow down. But that's okay. That's actually a great thing, as long as we're ready and we're prepared to maximize that opportunity as a food industry. So we began today with an ask from Brooke, and that was that we create a digital operating plan. And we'd end with that same ask. What this plan should encompass, it should be exclusive from your annual operating plan. It should include your tactics, moreover your strategy, how you're going to be clever about going after the consumer in a changing environment, a way that we've never seen. Because today will be different than yesterday, and tomorrow is immensely different than today. And we have to maximize that opportunity. And the runway, what we'll find, is very long, it is very lucrative, and is paved with growth. So we thank you for your time. We'd like to open it up for questions.
That's awesome, you guys.
Hi, great job, team, and that's really cool stuff. I'm a digital junkie myself, and I've got to say, when I moved to Silicon Valley, I was really excited to use Google Express, because the first time I needed batteries from Costco, it saved me about $300 that it would have cost me to walk into Costco. So with that, though, I'd ask, is this really a opportunity for the grocery industry, or is it a threat? Because if I now have auto-replenish, that might get me a sale that replenished my detergent, but I might have missed a multi-buy opportunity, a cross-sell opportunity, an impulse buy, and that sacred trip, retailers value. So is this really a threat or an opportunity?
We see it as an opportunity because not only communicating through the consumer through these digital appliances in home, the opportunity is endless in terms of how we communicate. Come in and we have the cafe has opened. We all know that the retail space is going to change, but it's going to exist. It's just going to change in a different way. So it's just the way that we communicate in that way, and it provides an opportunity because it actually may bring them in for other things that they wouldn't normally even go to the grocery store for. It'll turn into more of a 1950s, this is what we do on Sunday afternoon as a family. We go to the grocery store because we'll be able to give them incentives through their devices.
I think it was pretty futuristic to see, this refrigerator that tells you you're out of inventory on product. I do want to know, in terms of this digital operating plan, what did your research say in terms of the companies that are best at it right now? What are the chains that have these dedicated teams that are really thinking through their digital plan?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the companies that are doing it the best are really these folks, the technology companies that we touched on. And they're insulating themselves with the Amazons of the world to ensure that they've got a go-to-market strategy right to the consumer. And in some stance, we look at it as an opportunity, obviously. That's a huge opportunity for us to get in there and get to it. But I would tell you that Google, Apple, all of these are going to maximize this to some extent. Because when you look at the kitchen today, the smart kitchen in terms of appliances and the refrigerator, they exist today. That's what's baffling as we go through this. It's catching up even faster than when we started. So those technology companies are getting out ahead of it, and they're literally leapfrogging and picking away at our business as we wouldn't see them as traditional, I would say, threats or even an opportunity. We'd think that they're going to go on down the road and focus on technology, but they're realizing that they can integrate into the food industry because we all need it every single day, and they're trying to maximize that. So if you look at Amazon partnering with Google and Apple and things like that, the studies are astounding in terms of what they come out.
But what about chains, traditional grocer chains or retailers right now? Did your research find anybody that is sort of best in class right now?
Not that we found to the best in class. I would tell you that Costco, in terms of what they do from an online perspective, is probably the strongest that we've seen. But they haven't fully integrated it in our mind to capitalize on all this other opportunity. There's still a huge ocean out there that isn't being tapped. But there isn't one. So that's why we're saying we still have an opportunity to get out ahead of it now. If you look at Amazon Dash and things like that, the buttons around the home, these are just small stepping stones to officially bridge the gap to where the customer has to come in for some kind of service, something that draws them back into the store. And there isn't one chain that's done it particularly well. Costco's probably the closest that we found.
Excellent job, by the way. And I think actually the first three groups are just so relevant to the future, and so I commend you on that. A question on, and it was interesting because when you're partnering with smart appliances or smart, and by the way, that is going to be the future. When you're partnering with appliances, et cetera, and so forth, it brings to mind what Lenovo just went through with their computer.
Sure.
And they had loaded on software, which essentially was an advertising software, and essentially had to recall everything back or show people how to eliminate and clear it. Two questions. Number one, how do you avoid that? Because you certainly don't want to be part of that when you're partnering with smart appliances of the future. Number two, in this room, we're not represented as much by the Amazons of the world, et cetera, but they have an advantage to be first. How do traditional retailers become part of this, seeing that that's going to be in the future?
So the first part, I would tell you that as we looked at it, we didn't see a massive undertaking other than, getting out ahead of this from, Apple and Google really integrating with Samsung and LG right out of the gates. And they've integrated some of that. Now, granted, there is some risk to it, but if you look at the runway, they're going to figure that out, how to advertise and get factory direct to the consumer. And it's just a matter of how do you become the incumbent so that when you come to the dashboard of your computer, it's now your fridge, that you're there from a retailer or CPG perspective. So there are going to be some ebbs and flows, but time is going to figure that out really, really quickly because the consumer wants it more than ever. If you look at Brooke's phone in comparison to how many apps and things she has compared to mine, it's drastically different. And granted, there is an age gap, so there is part of that. But if you look at her generation even versus mine, and we're only split by one, it's drastically different. And the Gen Zer is going to be all the more demanding of this. So,
And to your second question, we're the experts. In this room, we know our consumers. We've been studying our consumers for years and years and years. All of our retailers, we have been in this food space, in this food industry space for so long. We know what works. We know what pulls our consumers into the store. We have that knowledge. The Googles and Amazons out there, they're trying to pick our brains right now. So we need to use our knowledge and just integrate some of the tech-savvy individuals out there and move ahead of them.
Great job. Thank you very much.